Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dice Odyssey. I'm Kaz, and today I'm going to be talking about my top 10 favorite engine building style games. And what I mean is, and I know this is going to create some controversy probably because nobody can seem to always agree exactly what constitutes engine building, at least from what I've seen online. But I personally want to kind of delve into that just a little bit and to get into some generalities and also some specifics on what I personally think engine building works as. Now, some of you may say, okay, well, what about this game or what about that game when we actually get to the actual list? Well, it's very possible I might not have played that game or just missed the list somehow. You know what I mean? Just maybe it's a game I don't necessarily like, or, you know, it could be a number of things. So keep that in mind. If you like a certain engine building game that I don't have listed here, great. You know, I'm glad you like it. It's just, it may not necessarily, it may have just fallen into one of those categories I listed and why I don't have it listed. So the way that I personally categorize engine building is it's basically something that gives you a sense of progression within the parameters of that said game. So for example, something that might make you stronger as you upgrade yourself throughout a game, and so you're stronger and you're better and you can have more abilities than you did from when you first started out. Okay, whether that's powers, whether that's just strengths in general. All right. Another thing could be better economic progression, better economic engineering, if that's a word. Basically, it's something that helps you generate more of an economy than you did when you first started out. You might have started out getting 2 coins at the beginning of the game, and you're able to kind of generate those as an ongoing ability. By the end of the game, you might be able to generate 20 coins. So basically, some of this is going to be more of an objective take, but then some of it's going to be just that gut feeling opinion of, I feel better and I feel like I have progressed to a greater extent in the game as I've gone along. Now, in this list as well, this doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be a purely engine building game. Like that's the main mechanism. It can be, right? It can be, but it could also be a game that has that element in it, you know, along with other mechanisms like area control or what have you. Let's go from there, starting with number 10. Now, my number 10 is a game that if you've been watching my channel for any length of time and you've heard me talk about how my wife is not really a big gamer, you know, she's very particular about the games she wants to play, which is not that many of them. There are some. She's very particular. Then you'll probably know this game before I even say it. But this game in particular, it's a more recent game. It came out, matter of fact, I think it was last year. And my wife fell in love with it. And that's one of the main reasons it's on this list. I really like the game. I'm not like falling over head over heels for it like some people, but I really like the game a lot. And that's Wingspan. Wingspan is, I mean, if you're new to gaming, you may not have heard about it, but almost everybody else has. Basically, it's a game about birds. It's a game about, you have different environments that you want to try to attract birds into, right? You have like the fields, the forest, and the water, and you're trying to attract birds that can fill in those environments. For example, you might try to attract, I don't know, I can't remember off the top of my head if a swan's in the game, but a swan to the aquatic environment. And as you go, you're paying eggs, you're paying food, and you're trying to get these birds to go into that environment, and each bird is going to have specific powers that they can help you with. Now, some of them don't have powers, some of them just points, and some of them do other things other than just standard powers. Some of them give you ongoing powers, some of them give you, powers that you pay for every time you do it. But I love the idea of filling a specific row full of birds, and once you have activated that row, you go ahead and activate each card that you're able to as you go down that row. So at the beginning of the game, you might activate 1 card in that row, but by the end, you might activate 4, so you're getting a lot more of an engine built to help you acquire the things that you're trying to get when it comes to in-game points. My wife fell in love with this game, and we have played it several times together, and that right there was enough for me to put it as an inclusion on my list at number 10. My number 9 is going to be a controversial pick, probably. Some of you will probably very much disagree with this choice, but I don't care because I love this game and I think it has some engine building elements in it. I love it. Blood Rage! Now again, before you cry foul, hear me out. The fact is that when you start out in this game, you are the same as everyone else until you start playing cards, right? And you have the opportunity to gain specific style of clan cards or warrior cards or, ship cards, monster cards, which makes your clan different and typically more powerful and with different abilities than everyone else by the end of the game. You are so radically different than everybody else typically. And I love the progression feeling that what you're doing is when you're actually putting those cards down and then when you're actually upgrading your clan stats, because rage is basically your currency in the game. You start out with very little. I think it's 6 you start out with, and by the end of the game I think you can get up to 12, but that's because you've been upgrading your clan stats by doing quests and doing pillages and stuff like that. There's absolutely a very strong element of engine building in this game to me, and that's why it had to be included on my number 9, because by the end of the game, I feel like Super Clan. Not Superman, but Super Clan because of all my powers and abilities, monsters, and upgrades. So, Blood Rage, my controversial pick for number 9. Now, my number 8, I might kind of be tiny bit controversial. I don't know why it would be, because it has a sense of progression when it comes to building up your particular business and shipping lines. And that game is Le Havre, or Le Havre, or however you want to pronounce it, right? I probably butchered it, who knows? But I don't care, it's fun. Le Havre is basically a shipping and delivering style of game. Not really delivering, but you kind of do some of that in the game. You're shipping things off. I love this game. It's basically you're on a boat dock and you are building up your shipping business from gaining, purchasing more businesses by using either coins, so you can purchase them outright, or you go ahead and gain different kinds of resource offerings, whether that's fish, wood, brick, steel or iron, things like that can help you build buildings and continually progress your business into such a way that you're building up an economic engine in some ways, right? A resource and economic engine. And I like the idea in this game that by the time, from the beginning of the game, everybody's the same, but by the time you're done, everybody's got completely different businesses, or almost completely. And I like also the extended play cards, I think advanced cards, where they come out with different kinds of ongoing abilities. For example, you've got a feed lot, because you have to feed your people at the end of every round in the game, pretty much. And I like the idea of having that, because when you get cows and you need to slaughter them to get meat for your people to eat, it helps you increase your cow production. You know what I mean? Because if you get 2 cows together, they're going to the love shack and they're making babies. And you're actually able to increase your cow production every round as long as you have a certain amount of them. And I love that idea. And I also like the idea that you can build ships that, even though you've got to pay food every round, you can actually build ships and not only can ship things for you to gain you more points and money at the end of the game, which is points, but it gives you, depending on the type of ship you build, it allows you to have more food to feed your people automatically at the end of every round. So it's decreasing the cost for you as time goes on. I absolutely love this game. It's an economic engine builder ultimately. Now my number 7 is basically a galactic empire building game with dice. It's based on a very popular IP that uses cards. Roll for the Galaxy. What can I say? This is pretty much almost purely engine building. This is one of those that kind of fits that range, you know what I mean? You're basically going and, using your dice, using your workers, so to speak, to open up different avenues when it comes to exploring the galaxy, to get more planet and technology tiles, to upgrade your empire, to give it more abilities and more abilities to produce resources. You're shipping off resources, you're gaining victory points from it, or you're gaining more money so you can gain more dice into your cup, and then you can go ahead and purchase those dice out of your citizenry and things like that. Absolutely fun game. I love it, and I love the tension in the game that, even though I might open up a specific action that I want to take, I'm sometimes betting that somebody else might need a specific action that I didn't try to open up, and I'm hoping that I can ride off of what action they chose as well to help me build up my empire more and more. Now, my number 6 is a game that is based on a theme that is one of my favorite themes of all time. Okay, I love dinosaurs. I love Jurassic Park, the movie. It was actually my favorite movie as a kid for a little bit when it first came out, but then other better movies, in my opinion, took over. Star Wars and Lord of the Rings and things like that. Star Wars, the old ones primarily. Many of the new ones are not that great. But I love Mandalorian and I love Rogue One. Those are awesome. Solo's okay too. But anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent. My number 6 is Dinosaur Island, if you haven't figured that out. But yeah, Dinosaur Island, it's basically Jurassic Park in a box. It really is. And now we got Dinosaur World coming out. We'll see where that takes the spot maybe next year if I do this video type again. But Dinosaur Island is all about you creating your own dinosaur park with paddocks, attractions. You're creating dinosaurs, you're upgrading your laboratory with better security, ongoing abilities to protect your visitors coming in, you know, from more from dinosaur attacks, upgrading in terms of an economic engine, helping with all of those things. And I love the fact that at the beginning of the game, again, I go back to this, everybody's pretty much the same. Okay, now that's unless you use the totally liquid expansion, which is amazing. I'm talking about base game Dinosaur Island. We can throw that in, but I'm saying base game, everybody's pretty much the same. And I love by the end of the game, not only do you have a different kind of park than everybody else, like you could have created, you know, Tyrannosaurus Rexes, somebody else is just, you know, they stuck with plant eaters primarily. But I also like the idea that everybody gets different kinds of specialists, which can give you ongoing abilities or one-time abilities, you know, extra workers and things of that nature. And I also like the fact you're upgrading your lab to help you to synthesize DNA better, you know, to decrease costs on DNA usage, to build your dinosaurs and this, that, and the other. Absolutely fun, economic engine building game. And it's got a bit of worker placement in it as well. Dinosaur Island, if you haven't played this game, it is, in my opinion, one of the best games ever made. That's my number 6. Now, my number 5 is a more recent game. It is a game about building factories and trying to create an engine to help you produce and manufacture better than anyone else resources and victory points and this, that, and the other. Fantastic factories. This game broadsided me last year. I was not expecting it to be as good as it is. I love the artwork in this game. It's very, it almost feels like you're playing an app on a table. You know what I mean? It's got the app style of artwork to some extent. But I love the zany look of the factories. I love how, you know, these different kinds of factories will help me decrease costs to produce more resources, to build new factories. And I love the dice rolling in the game. I love how you have to, you know, use your dice and go in there and try to produce more resources on your main player board. Oh, fantastic factories. It truly does live up to its name. It's quite the fantastic game. My number 4. This game is based on a very popular song. Let me shoot for this. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Not really, it's not based off that song, but it works, you know, the jokes just flow. It's a Wonderful World. I do like the theme in this game. It's as funny as it sounds, it's kind of like a propaganda thing. Everybody's got their own empire and you're trying to propagandize your own people to follow, you know, what you want to do. You're trying to become the most powerful empire if there's been a big war or something like that. I'm forgetting it because, like, all the details on the backstory, because honestly, it's just pure engine building in a box. Again, another one of those. All you're doing is you're building up your empire in a very specific way to help not only generate more resources, but also give you more victory points to get you more, I guess you call them worker tokens, that allow you to go out and do more things and gain more bonuses on the main resource player board. And I really like the phases in the game. You don't just everybody does every phase at the same time. You have to go here and you have to plan your phases out carefully, because if you don't, you could really screw yourself up in this game by not getting what you need at the proper time. The timing's everything. So if you, and I can't remember the exact where the colors are, but if you need to go in here and do the yellow phase first, okay, you're going to do the yellow phase, but remember, the one after that might be the blue phase or the gray phase, and so you might need certain resources being pulled back at specific times that you're generating so that you can build other buildings or they're buildings, other buildings in your queue, which can add more to your empire. And I love the fact that you're stacking up your abilities as you go in the actual engine building of it. So I really love this game. Again, another game that broadsided me last year. It's a Wonderful World. Learn that song. You'll want to sing it while you play. Not really. That is my number 4. Now my number 3 game. This one, it out Machikoro'd Machikoro for me. Machikoro, this is the game that Machikoro wishes it could be. Okay? Now, I haven't played the latest iterations of Machikoro. Maybe the game has been fixed, but Machikoro is one of my most hated games because I felt that the system was broken. I really did, and you can go check my review out. There's other things I should have added on my negatives for that, but Machikoro is an awful game in my opinion. Space, however, is my number 3. That is the game that kicked Machikoro to the curb. Actually, Machikoro kicked itself to the curb before Space came along and just did the killing blow on it. I love the fact that in Space, if I roll my dice, I don't lose anything just because I don't have a number, like a Machikoro at one point. I love the fact that no matter what, I'm always getting something. No matter what I roll. It might not even be the best thing for me, but it gives me something. And I feel a sense of progression as I continually build up my economic market. And then as I build that up, I'm able to afford higher tiered ships and even at some point space stations. I just love this game. And I also love the fact that the more I build this, my engine up, as other people are playing and as other people are rolling, there's a good chance I'm going to start hitting on my numbers if they roll them, as a passive ability. Space is just pure, and I keep saying this, pure engine building in a box. It's one of the best games in the market right now, and I absolutely will never get rid of this game. I just can't see myself doing it. Space, out Machikoro, my number 3. Now my number 2 is a game that I did not like at first, and many of you know this game because I've mentioned it several times. It's probably my biggest slow burn game, one that took me many times to play to actually start liking it. And I pushed through because I was like, there's got to be a good game here. Everybody loves this game, and I'm just not feeling it. Scythe. This game is just one of the most amazing games I've ever played. It has area control in it. To some extent, it's got area control. It is pure. I mean, every little thing in the game is just pure engine building extravaganza. It really is. I mean, from the dual layer boards that you're putting your cubes into, from the 2 actions that you can take on your turn, the fact that you can upgrade your player board as time goes on to give you discounts on different kinds of actions that you want to take. If you want to build buildings, if you want to, open up your passive abilities when it comes to enlistment, so that when other people take, specific actions, that you're gaining things off of that, from combat cards to money to what have you. All this, I love this game. This game has been my number 1 game since last year, and so far nothing's knocked it off yet. I had to include it on this list. I absolutely love the fact that the more that I am opening things up on my player board, the more I can expand onto the map and do all sorts of fun things. And I love the fact that it's like an efficiency engine puzzle. That's really what I feel like it is. And it just appeals to me on every level imaginable, and I've never had a game of this really go the same, especially after getting the Rise of Fenris expansion. If you haven't gotten that yet, you've got to get it for Scythe. Scythe is absolutely an evergreen in my collection. I don't think it'll ever leave. I even got the legendary box for it. I got Metal Max. don't ask me the cost. But anyway, Scythe is my number 2, and it deserves that spot. And my number 1 engine building game, it's a bit of a heavier game than some of the other ones on this list. And it has a sci-fi theme that I find just intriguing beyond all belief. It really is kind of like, you know, a game about paying your debts back, which that's life, right? We're all doing that, right? Anachrony. And it's got this time travel element in it where you're trying to borrow things from yourself in the future, or I can't remember. I think it's in the future to pay yourself back in the past and things like that, or you can have time anomalies come up, or ruptures in the space-time continuum, like Doc Brown says. I absolutely love this game. I like the idea that you're trying to escape a dying world. Basically, the world is about to be destroyed, and it's about to be rebuilt in the form of whatever empire takes over. And you've got your own empire, and you're having to buy buildings. They give your workers new abilities that sometimes use your workers as the new abilities. It is a heavier game, but I find the crunchiness in the game, I find the decision making in the game to be so fun, so enriching. I'm never bored in this game. I absolutely love this game. Anachrony is my number 1. And I'll be honest with you, I cannot wait for the Exosuit expansion to come, because I've got that Kickstarter coming that they just recently did with the expansion that has an Exosuit expansion and the I forget the name of it, Fractures of Time or something like that. But if you have not played this game and you don't mind a heavier game, it gets pretty intuitive, right? It'll take you a couple plays to really get it, but it's a fairly intuitive game, even though it's very heavy. You know what I mean? But Anachrony is my number 1. Beautiful game. Anyway, what about you? What are your top 10 or even top 5 favorite engine building games? Yes, I know I could have included games like Terraforming Mars and some others. Terraforming Mars would have probably been my number 11. I will say this. Terraforming Mars and I have kind of had a falling out recently. It's not that I hate the game. I like it, quite a bit. But I will say I don't want to play it with more than 3. I feel like it's too long for what it is past that. And I feel like it tends to overstay its welcome a little bit. Now, I have not played with any of the expansions like everybody else seems to have. But I do like the engine building in Terraforming Mars. I like the fact that no game is exactly the same. That would have been on my list had some of the little things I've got with it, the little issues I have with it. If I could somehow get those cleared up, it's a great game. So yeah, not to downgrade anybody who loves it. It's just not necessarily, you just missed the list. You know what I mean? But anyway, how about you? Tell me what your top 10 favorite engine building games are. And again, thank you so much for watching the Dice Odyssey videos. You have a blessed day and game away. This video is brought to you by Fallen Dominion Studios. Check out their website at fallendominionstudios.com.